I love iPhones, but the iPhone 12 launch in particular is making me question Apple on how they perceive their smartphone. Because to me, it seems like a really weird phone, although I do think it brings an amazing offer at the price point, at least here in the US. So I talked about this a little bit during my live stream, but I just wanted to expand and make a full-fledged video on it. So I want to talk about the three main problems I have with the iPhone 12 and just iPhone in general. So let's get into it. So the first problem I have with the iPhone is that for some odd reason, despite all the technology on their existing products, it's just not on the iPhone. And it seems like the iPhone is being neglected year after year on the potential technology that can get put on the phone. Now, it's no secret that Apple isn't the first to implement new technology when it's first come out to the public, but whenever they do decide to implement the technology, they do it in a unique way, which makes them stand out. But here's the problem. The iPhone doesn't get that technology. So we have next generation Touch ID on the iPad Air, an existing Apple product, but for some reason, it's not on the iPhone, even though the iPhone was the first to implement Touch ID. There's USB-C on existing products already, such as their new MacBook Pros, the iPad Air, and the iPad Pro, but it's not on the iPhone for some odd reason. We have 120 Hz on the iPad Pro, but we don't have it on the iPhone, even though high refresh rate on smartphones isn't that big of a deal, although it does make the experience better. Apple has world-class engineers, and they've proven that they can implement this technology on other products in their lineup, but for some odd reason, the iPhone just keeps getting neglected year after year, and it's just like, why? And the price is still going up. So at first, I didn't think this was a big issue with them taking out the power adapter, but when they announced that it's going to be provided with a USB-C to Lightning cable, that's where I was like, that's an interesting choice. Now, in the grand scheme of things, long term, it does make sense. But I feel like for a vast majority of iPhone users, they don't have a USB-C power adapter or outlet. And they're gonna have to go out of their way to buy a USB-C power adapter, which of course gives Apple more money. Or they're gonna have to go buy a wireless charger or buy MagSafe, which gives Apple more money. And it just seems that that choice didn't make sense up front. Like maybe you could have given us another year or just provided us with a USB-C power adapter. And the biggest issue is that this Lightning port, if the port wasn't here, I don't think that would be that big of an issue. But it's like we're still going to have to carry around an extra cable just for the iPhone. Whereas if everything was just USB-C, like your other existing products, it wouldn't be that big of an issue. So the next problem I have with the iPhones is the camera focus. And this isn't something specific to Apple. This is just something I've noticed within like the last 3 years. I feel like smartphone companies are just focusing way too much on cameras, and that's like the differentiating point between one model and the next. And it doesn't really seem that valuable for the average consumer to pay an extra $100 to like $200 just to get a better camera system. Like it's rare that I meet someone saying that, oh, I wish my iPhone or my phone took better photos or videos. Most of the time, people are generally happy with what they can take. Although laptops are a different issue, and that's an abomination.
What is this? You know when you go to like a gas station, you ask for the footage? This is what it looks like.
It's horrible. You can't even like make out my face. So
And right now, cameras are becoming like processors. Like processors right now are really fast. And I feel like for a vast majority of people in flagship phones, processors are fast. And cameras, I would say, are really, really good for a vast majority of people. And it's like, how much better do we need cameras to be in a smartphone? You know, I want to see what else a smartphone is capable of, but when 30 minutes of your event is being talked about the camera, it's like, is that really the only big difference or the thing you guys have been working on for all these years? So that's another big issue I have with the iPhone, but that goes for all smartphone companies in general. So the last problem I have with iPhone, and specifically the iPhone 12, is that I was expecting the iPhone 11s this year, and Apple is calling it a leap year because I guess they're leaping over the S cycle. And the only thing that's really leap worthy, I would say, is that there's a design change. And the design change isn't anything really new. It's already on the iPad Pro and previously on the iPhone 4 and 5, that boxy design. So to say it's a leap year as if it's some type of crazy innovation, I will give it. Apple has an amazing marketing team, but it really doesn't feel like a leap year in terms of the iPhone. It's really just, I would say, the iPhone 11 with a new design and slightly better camera and processor, like things we've always expected to come from an iPhone. And Apple also makes subtle differences so people can know what the difference is from last year's phone. And I would say with the iPhone 10 to the 11 generation, it was really just color changes and I guess camera modules on the back. So like for the iPhone 10 and the 10s, you couldn't really tell the difference unless you had the gold option. Other than that, the phones looked completely identical. And then going from the iPhone 11 to the 12, they essentially are the same phone, but they just have different color choices and a boxy design. And then going from the 11 Pro to the 12 Pro, you have that new color finish on the outside as well as the LiDAR scanner on the back. And it's these subtle differences that make me question Apple and think like, is this really the best innovation that you can do on a smartphone now? And I understand like if it's not broke, don't fix it, but it doesn't really seem like Apple's taking those risks. So with the iPhone 12 launch, we have 4 choices. And the nice thing about this for the consumer is we have more choices. And this is a good thing, but I've also thought that this is a bad thing. So in terms of the bad, like everyone can be amazed by how the iPhone 12 Pro Max is, the camera system and whatnot, the new design, it looks beautiful. But when all your phones side by side are pretty much identical across the board in terms of performance, and the only real difference is the design and camera system, I think people only really care about is gonna be the price and battery life. If the price is good and the battery life is essentially the same across the board, there's no real reason to pay extra for that extra flagship phone in a way. So there's no point of buying the iPhone 12 Pro if the iPhone 12 mini is providing pretty much the same amount of value. There's diminishing returns when you start going for that iPhone 12 Pro. So I'm not happy that the iPhone 12 Pro is now priced at what the iPhone 11 was. So to get the same size, we have to pay an extra $100 to get what we wanted, or not what we've always had all these years.
What's the price? $800?
So that's one thing I don't like about these new choices. And hopefully, with the Android market, you guys have more phones to choose from. But from the flagships like Samsung, I really hope they don't make 4 flagship phones instead of just, the regular, plus, and then the Ultra. I'm not happy with this launch. Who knows, maybe I'm going to bite the bullet here and say that the mini is going to be the best selling iPhone 12 just from the price alone, but it's only 64 gigabytes and that's another problem I have. With apps getting bigger, if Apple's focusing on how good cameras are, if we're recording in 4K HDR, that stuff takes up a lot of storage. And 64 gigabytes nowadays on a phone is just an absolute, it's disrespectful in a way. So I'm not happy to see that. So that's the 3 problems I have with the iPhone launch this year. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know your thoughts about the iPhone 12 launch. I will be having them sometime next week as well with the new iPad Air Pro, or Air. Naming scheme is confusing me. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see my unboxing and initial reactions. Like the video if you did. And as always guys, much love.